Last patch before we shift into Season 3, which will begin in the 27th of August. And this is 25.16. We will begin with Brand being buffed into the jungle, 20% more damage to monsters per tick in his passive, stun duration going to be increased by 0.25, and also his cooldown will be lowered by 10 seconds on each level, which doesn't matter as much as these upper buffs that he's receiving. Gnar Q cooldown is going to be lowered by 4 seconds as well, which means it will be more of a lane bully in some matchups. It's not a huge change, some matchups it will for sure include more damage, especially until level 5. Then it kind of gets the same because you want to max the Q regardless, so it won't make Gnar a lot more viable in comparison to what he is now, I would say. Passive Illaoi damage going up by 5% on AD ratio, and also her spawn cooldown is going to be lowered when it comes to her seconds. Illaoi OTPs were not happy with the changes, also she landed as predicted weaker than Riot thought she would land, so they are trying to compensate her with some buffs. Jarvan is going to have his armor lowered per level. It doesn't really fucking matter. You just do it's just one less Mountain Drake, and Jarvan will still be strong regardless. Kalista, yeah, she is probably the worst champion in the game. I would say she will still be because attack damage growth and the fact that they're trying to buff the Guinsoo's build that she usually does, plus the Borg. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough for her to be good. Maybe she appears more often in some scenarios in competitive, but I would not want to see that for sure. Lulu, once again a nerf, this time her cooldown on her E will be scaling instead of a flat 8 seconds, so it will have 2 more seconds initially. Base damage and shield are going to be lowered, so very sad news for all Lulu users for top, mid, and also support. But even though she gets nerfed, there are some scenarios where you would pick Lulu regardless and she will still be strong. Less obnoxious, some more cooldown here and there with her E, but she will still be an optimal pick with hyper carries if your angle would be good in the first place. Master E, a Kraken and Terminus on its synergy will now be given with Alpha Strike. I'm not sure about the numbers, but this is an interesting change and quality of life change for Master E's build. And one of the first times Riot is trying to buff his on it build instead of the crit build, because they were trying a lot to make Master E build Yuntal, Infinity Edge, and all of those components oriented into crit, which clearly did not happen, as we can see. Mordekaiser. Now it will have a lot of bonus AD ratio. It goes from 0 into 120%. This might change the way you build Mordekaiser. By the way, is also viable in the jungle as a niche option. But in top lane, if you steal stats with your ultimate and you have Liandry's, let's imagine you shift into Syrax, Bloodmail, or even Shojin, you will have a lot of HP stats, and the fact that Bloodmail gives you a lot of AD and you can steal also stats with your ult, this will be potential Zeus or Thanos type of Mordekaiser, because yes, it will be more oriented and vulnerable into shield reverse, but at the same time it will have more stats with his bonus AD ratio, so expect some shifts when it comes to his itemization. I do think Mordekaiser as a niche pick will be fairly strong with this change as well. Morgana minimum damage is going up and maximum damage is going down, so basically what they're trying to say is we want more upfront damage, and if you hit Q it's basically going to be worse, so upfront damage is going to be higher, and yeah, the more damage you get from W, the more nerfed it will be, the less damage you will deal, so yeah, Morgana is still going to be in a terrible spot. I don't really know what Riot is doing with this champion. However, Nautilus is now going to be a flex pick, mainly for jungle and support, sometimes for top lane, but mainly for jungle. It will appear as a flex pick, so if you see Nautilus being B1, R1, R2 in solo queue, don't be surprised, okay? And don't try to lock immediately Rell or Braum just because you see a Nautilus. Maybe it's just a bait pick, and maybe it's just a flexibility for the jungle, and Nautilus will be quite viable with these changes. So With this AP ratio to keep in mind, apart from all the damage that is being given for monsters, I do believe that he will have a very similar build to Maokai with Liandry's, with potentially Bloodletter. If you want to get really fancy, maybe you slime a Rocket Belt initially if you don't want to go for Liandry's against a composition that is squishier. So I do believe that he wants the HP more, but it will be quite interesting to see how Nautilus lands as a flexible pick, being viable in the jungle as well. Nocturne, very placebo nerfs, is going to lose 5 AD here and armor growth a little bit. Qiyana, however, not placebo because she will have 10 more AD, and bonus attack speed is also going to be increased by 10% per level, so buff for jungle and mid lane Qiyana. Rek'Sai, buff on her base stats, plus 4 AD, and some bug fixes that will increase her quality of life as well. Rell will still be strong despite losing 2% max health, so do expect Rell to still be a heavily prio pick. Just be careful with Poppy, Alistar, and Braum. Some picks that are really good into Rell, but she's a very strong pick and she will still be prio for sure. Q damage is going to be decreased. Quality of life changes will be given to Q and ult. And some bug fixes, so basically they want to make him burn less max HP percentage, less AP ratio as well, so he will be less obnoxious in the lane, even against tanks. So Ornn, Sion, those picks that were really good into Rumble as well as neutralizers, Xante for example as well, they will be even stronger to neutralize Rumble. He won't be a bully as he was before. And his ultimate tick rate means he will deal more upfront damage, and the red side will no longer deal delayed damage or less damage to champions, which is a huge quality of life change, because blue side Rumble had a lot more win rate as well. Shaco, bonus AD ratio on Q and passive are going to be decreased, just play AP Shaco, that's pretty much it. Singed Q, Poison Trail, apparently it had the same effect as Rumble in red side, so that is fixed, and the tick rate is also going to be a similar change to Rumble, so this is a nice buff for Singed as well. Sion passive is going to be lowered when it comes to health loss per tick, armor reduction, and bonus AD ratio. I don't know what the fuck Riot is cooking here, but they want to buff Sion on E and ultimate, both for lethality but also for the blood mill build, so really weird that they want to buff the Sion overall in that matter. Sylas, plus 50% monster damage. They want to monster damage. Did I say monster damage? I'm not sure. Anyways, plus 50% more damage. I'm not sure if this is enough. I think Sylas jungle can appear in some scenarios where you can see Maokai, Ashe, Alistar are good ultimates for him to pivot along if he doesn't have a bad jungle matchup. But still, I don't believe this is enough for him to be as popular as Nautilus, or even to show up as often as Rand will be popping, for example. Trundle, bonus attack speed going to be lowered by 20 eventually. I mean, possibly 1% win rate drop. It's not that big of a deal. Trundle will still be very strong despite the cooldown and bonus attack speed from W being hit. Varus base damage is going to be lowered. So basically they want to nerf lethality Varus and they want to buff on it attack speed and AP Varus with this W change. And the U damage is also going to be lowered in flat amount and also bonus AD percentage amount. Bug fixed targets will once again take damage applied as on them when Varus R spreads to them from the primary targets. Okay. Viego, basically attack speed is going to be lower, damage in his Q is going up, but bonus damage to monsters is going to be 0. Critical strike multiplier is going down by 25%. Minion healing is going up by 50%, so this is a huge buff for mid lane Viego, not as much for top lane because top lane Viego is really rough to play in most matchups, but mid lane Viego is very possible with this change. Yes, he does lose some monster healing, but the healing from the jungle camps is already healthy enough, so he doesn't really care about this being reduced when he gets champion and minion healing for mid lane Viego, mainly. Warwick, plus 5 AD, but bonus on it is going to be lowered, so basically a top lane nerf for Warwick and a pretty much neutral change for jungle Warwick. This is what they want to do. Xin Zhao, minus 20 HP and minus 5 damage flat on his Q per hit. This is going to be possibly 1% win rate drop. This is usually what they want to do. If they would only want to drop 1% in health, they would drop into 610, for example, instead of 620. but the fact that they drop 5 damage on Q per hit and 20 HP, they just want to drop up front 1% in different sectors and departments from his kit. Yuumi, damage is going to be lowered and heal and shield power is going to be heavily nerfed as well. This champion is complete garbage. Zyra minus 1 second on her E, and also base damage is going to be increased by 20. Doesn't really change much. It's a very placebo change overall. Experimental Hexplate, so basically Nocturne item is going to be increased when it comes to attack speed and movement speed. So basically the placebo nerf that Nocturne has gotten is going to be made up with this buff into this item. Yes, they want to give it to more users, but I don't believe that will be the case at all for now. Baron is going to have plus 300 HP. In the previous patch they gave 100 more. This time they're giving 300 more. Health per minute is going to be increased by 10 as well, and health regen is now going to be 0. What does this mean? If you do Baron from 20 to 25 seconds, the math is pretty much 400 HP less, but you get 400 HP flat regardless up front, and it doesn't make your smite whiff. Okay, sometimes the health regen makes your smite go off in a really weird way, and you might miss the objective as well. So the fact that they give this a flat amount will be better overall. Then it's arena changes, but we only care about the main changes, so let's make a really quick TLDR of the last patch of Season 2. Brand will appear more often because of his passive per tick damage and mainly his Q as well. Gnar will be better in some matchups, but I do believe this is a very small change despite being 4 seconds. I don't think it's more than 1% increase in win rate. Illaoi is going to have a bigger change than Gnar in comparison, minus 2 seconds, and then it has more D ratio, trying to make up for the previous disaster changes that they dropped into Illaoi. Not sure if this is going to be enough, but it's a nice change overall as a buff. Jarvan will drop a little bit of win rate. It will still be strong and prio pick, so it doesn't really matter. Kalista, complete garbage despite of these changes. Lulu, once again being nerfed, now scaling cooldown on her E, but when you're supposed to pick Lulu with her hyper carry in a good matchup, it will still be good to be picked regardless. Unsure about the math on Master E, but it's really funny that they're now buffing the On-It build after trying countless times to buff his critical strike build. But now it stacks with his Alpha Strike with Kraken Serum Terminus on it build, so it will be quite fun to see. Also because Mordekaiser, he will be the one changing build potentially into something with more HP and AD. Potentially Serax, Bloodmail, or Shojin, for example, are strong possibilities along with Liandry's as first item. So quite interested to see how Mordekaiser lands with these changes, also by stealing stats with his ult. Morgana, it will be basically the same, more upfront damage initially, and eventually it's a nerf. The more time or W lands damage. Nautilus is going to be a flex pick mainly for jungle and support, but if your Lowe's Roton is potentially 3-way flex because boss also plays it. Also, be aware of AP builds with Liandry's and also Bloodletter as strong possibility, so a very similar build to Maokai with this massive buff for jungle Nautilus. Placebo change for Nocturne and Experimental Hexplate is also going to be buffed, so this means that it's pretty much the same. Qiyana, nice quality of life buffs for her when it comes to base damage and bonus attack speed. Rek'Sai, plus 4 base AD and some bug fixes. Rell will still be a very nice and proud support, very small change despite losing 2% max health. Rumble will be less bully, so champions like Orange, Sion, Xante will be happy to play against Rumble because his target max HP percentage will be lowered and the AP ratio is also going down. He will also deal more damage in his ults per tick, and it means quicker, and its red side is no longer affected, such as singed as well, and it has the refresh rate being decreased as well. Very similar changes to Rumble. Shaco, just play AP Shaco because his passive and Q bonus AD rescue is going to be decreased. Sion is still going to be an absolute god in the top lane, so after Gwen and Trundle are out, this is the champion to go for sure. Sylas, not sure if this is enough for him to pop in jungle. Is going to be very niche and ult-reliant for that to be possible in a good matchup in the jungle. Trundle, despite losing 20% attack speed and having 2 more seconds on his W, it will still be a very strong pick. So maximum 1% win rate drop. Q, basically on it, Varus is going to be buffed and the lethality is going to be nerfed. AP Varus also getting buffed. Viego, Mid lane Viego being buffed, not top lane because his top lane matchups are really difficult, and jungle Viego is going overall to be a bit nerfed. Not the end of the world for jungle Viego, not the best spot for jungle Viego overall as it was, but mid lane Viego might be a possibility in some scenarios, mainly for solo queue of course. Warwick top is going to be nerfed, jungle Warwick is going to be the same, Xin Zhao is going to have 1% less win rate because of HP and minus 5 damage, Yuumi, complete garbage champion, Zyra will be the same, experimental Hexplate Nocturne item will be a bit buffed, and Baron Nashor will be exactly the same, but you won't have to worry about the smite damage when it regens, because it won't any longer regen, because the flat amount will be given to the base health to Baron. These were the changes for the last patch of Season 2. In 2 weeks, I'll present you guys and introduce you to Season 3 25.17.